What is your name?
I'm Bobby Gas.
Bobby, what pronouns do you prefer or accept?
Um, I use they and them and she and her.
How long have you been using your preferred pronouns?
I only just started using she and her at work, really, and with my family within the last 6 months. But I've been using they and them for probably the last 3 years or so. That's what I feel most comfortable with.
You prefer one pronoun over the other in certain instances, or?
Yeah. So they and them feels most at home for me. Like I really feel like that speaks to who I am. I'm getting more comfortable with she, her. Um, it's it's also largely contextual for me. It kind of depends on where I am and what I'm doing and who I'm with.
So another question that I have found important for specific people, but I never can assume one way or the other.
Hmm.
And this is a new question that I'm going to ask: is have you always gone by Bobby?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I've always gone by Bobby. I changed the spelling of it when I moved out of the house and went to college. Got rid of one letter and added a different letter, kind of as a way of reinventing or accepting myself.
Okay. When you changed the spelling of your name, how long have, I think I might have asked this, but how long have you been using your they, them pronouns, she, her pronouns, and how long have you been using Bobby? And maybe talk about how that change might have come into
Sure, yeah.
happening.
So, like I said, I've been using Bobby for my whole life. Even when I was a kid, my parents called me Bobby, even though that wasn't my legal given name when I was born. I've been using they and them for probably the past 3 years now, 3 or 4 years. Um, and I've only been using she and her for maybe 6 months at the most, or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you
Would you?
said that you changed the spelling of your name, so does that signify something?
Yeah, certainly. I feel like when I moved after college, I changed the spelling of my name, and that was me kind of accepting my gender nonconformity and my non-binary kind of identity. I think it, in many ways, kind of precipitated my use of they and them pronouns. I, that's what I was getting at with my name change or with the letter spelling change. But I wasn't at a place in my life where I was comfortable enough or ready to use they and them pronouns.
In what ways do you express your gender? And in what ways do other people validate your gender?
Mm. Well, first thing that comes to mind is my fashion. I've always been kind of flamboyant and doing my own thing with fashion, and that's very much a way for me to express myself. It's kind of like a way for me to be artistic. It's with kind of with my body and how I present myself. Another way that I express my gender is certainly through my personality. I think that I've never quite known exactly what my gender is, but I think that if you are hanging out with me for even a short amount of time, it becomes very clear kind of how I feel in my body. Just in conversation, people validate my gender in the way they interact with me and care for me and support me.
How do you feel your gender identity compares and relates to how society currently understands gender?
Hmm. I think that society likes to think of gender as a fixed thing, even with trans and non-binary identities as they become more common knowledge. I think people still want to like understand what these identities are. And my relationship to gender has always been kind of like, I don't know. I'm kind of just winging it. And I'm learning all the time. And I kind of feel at home in that not knowing, or at least like always learningness of it. And I think that's hard for people to grapple with.
Give a specific example of a time when someone gendered you correctly or incorrectly,
Mm.
and how it made you feel.
Oh, I'm like tearing up just thinking about it. Because it happens in an instant, and it happens all the time. Um, and I brace myself for being my gender being rejected or misgendered. I'm just like I'm ready for that, such that when someone does gender me correctly, it really catches me off guard. Um, I'll be out with my partner. Um, she's a cis woman, and I don't know, we'll be on a date, and the server will say, "What can I get you, ladies?" And that warms my heart so much, and I get giddy. I'm like, "Ooh, that's two ladies, yeah." um, it really brightens my day, and it catches me off guard, and maybe that's unfortunate, but it does.
Would there ever be a situation when it would offend you if someone asked your preferred pronoun?
Hmm. No, it wouldn't offend me, and I really appreciate that, and I wish that people did that more.
Is there a negative experience that you would want to share or no?
So often people will use man to refer to people, like "Hey man" or "Thanks man," um, and I know that a lot of people use it kind of in a gender neutral way. Or at least that's what people say. But um, like if I'm at work and someone just "Hey man's" me, my heart just kind of sinks inside. Like, what what about this is telling you "man" when the person right before you called me "ma'am"? Um, Especially that contrast when I get "ma'amed" and then a couple minutes later I get "manned." Like, oh.
Okay. With the current conversation of transgender people in bathrooms, is there a specific example of something you have experienced that could make people think more personally on the issue?
I don't think people realize how fucking scared and scary it is to use a bathroom that people might not associate with your body. Um, I've only recently been able to use the women's restroom, and it's been something that I've had to like really work up. And if I'm in a new space, I'm more likely to just hold my pee and rather than use the restroom. Like I would, if I'm in a new space, I would much rather be in discomfort than subject myself to a new women's restroom that I'm not familiar with.
From my understanding, hormones is something you're comfortable talking about.
Yeah.
Is what might you want to say to people who want to better understand why you take hormones and what that might be leading to for you?
Yeah. Well, for the longest time, I've kind of been out as a gender nonconforming person for almost a decade now, and I only just started taking hormones recently. I didn't think that people on the fringes of gender, going by they them, took hormones. I didn't think that was an option. I thought that I had to kind of accept my body the way it was. It took me a long time to accept the fact that I could be non-binary, use they them, and want to take hormones, and that's okay. I gave myself permission to do that, and I'm so happy. I'm so glad I did. Now I feel much more comfortable claiming my non-binary identity now that I'm on hormones, because now I can move through the world a little bit more like a woman, and people see me more feminine and more as a woman, and so I can start from that place as a woman, as a feminine person, and then take up this non-binary identity. Whereas before, I was just automatically read as a man, um, and so that was just kind of breaking my heart. I really needed to start hormones in order to really love and accept myself as a non-binary person.
Yeah. Most of the people that I spoke to about the project, they oftentimes do talk about you. So like,
Oh,
what does it mean for you to be part of that community and also maybe possibly be someone that people look up or to or whatever?
yeah. I was just having this thought. I had this thought a lot. I can't imagine where I would be. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be thriving, living without all the beautiful, gender questioning, gender nonconforming, and trans people in my life. It took me a long I've been on a long journey, and every single time that I take a step toward validating myself, it's because I can see myself in other people, and I have other people to validate me, and that is so huge and so important. And so I just feel so lucky to be a part of this beautiful community of people supporting each other and living their true lives. It's life saving, to be honest.
What message or advice might you have for youth who might be questioning their gender identity?
Question it and don't think twice. I mean, do think twice, but I mean, think a lot. Think 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 100 times. But don't ever doubt yourself. Gender is always changing, and it can be whatever you want it to be. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise.